Right. And not to give anything away, but you just told us that's your pick for the World Series.
It is. I think.
Lay it out. What do you think?
Well, I like the way that they're built. They talk about teams being built for October baseball, and I'm of course going to be a staunch advocate for pitching. Pitching's always going to win, and I think Bauer's healthy, Carrasco's healthy. I like the fact that the team got so close last year. They've been close a couple of years. You're still hungry. It's one thing to win and repeat. It's another thing to chase somebody down, and I think that the underdog always has a slight edge in baseball.
Last time Greg was here, we were doing a lot of talk about the way the pitchers are being utilized, and we're seeing more and more of that. We're going to see more and more of that as the playoffs progress, I think.
Yeah, I think so, and it's about matchups, and as we all know, everything goes into analytics and all the different changes and everything. But I think what ends up going to decide things is going to have great pitching. Somebody's got to hit in the clutch, and we've seen teams that it usually, in a lot of times these cases, comes from a guy that nobody expects. I think when you look at a full 25-man roster in these playoffs, it's going to be somebody for one of these teams, even the great teams, even Boston or Houston or Cleveland, whoever it is, that comes up with that hit when nobody's expecting it, and that's what's going to pull somebody away.
Yeah, that kid who Walters hit 170 during the regular season, and he comes up a hero for Colorado. Who do you like?
I don't know. I want to pick the Tribe. I like Cleveland, but I feel like sometimes we get so into baseball playoffs that we overthink it. And when you stand back and look at it, Boston is just so good, right?
They are very good, but I think all around, I think you can make a case for Houston being as good or a better team than Boston. And Boston's one of the best teams we've seen in a long time.
Okay, so you go with. I guess I'm just.
The American League's loaded. I think.
But that's just it, right? I'm old school. I grew up a Blue Jays fan. I love the Toronto Blue Jays. Having to see the Yankees and the Red Sox every year, and there's that steel sharpens steel mentality where when you're coming out of that division, and I know where everyone else was playing was tough too. I just don't see how Boston loses in this American League.
I think it goes back to the pressure side of it. I know that this is Major League Baseball. I know that these guys are used to it. I know that they can play under the lights. But now you add the burden of being the best team in baseball, and we have to finish the World Series, win the World Series for it to all matter. You look, not to segue into football, but you look at when the Patriots were undefeated. Nobody remembers they were undefeated. They remember the Giants are Super Bowl champs. So I think that when you start to add extra pressure on top of the game's difficult to begin with, it's a very mental game, and so confidence is key. And when you're that good, and you're playing against teams that are that good, and you're the underdog, and nobody's really giving you credit, that becomes almost billboard material.
But you bring up the pressure. Is there added pressure anymore? I know when you were playing, I don't mean to be we're back in your day, but if a team from the Midwest caught fire, you didn't really hear about them until the playoffs started, so you didn't know them. Now, you have entire networks and stations. Everybody who follows baseball knows the guys on all of these teams. How much more pressure is there for the Red Sox?
You feel it watching them, though.
Because the game, for example, the Colorado Cubs game, in a regular season game, you're clicking off at a certain point, nobody's hitting. But the pressure and that every pitch matters is why baseball playoffs are, everybody talks about it ramping up in the NHL, which it does, and in the NBA, which it does, but it's the same game. I don't think baseball is the same game in the playoffs. I think because you got 162 games and you got every pitch that matters.
And it's always one-on-one to the extent that no other sport is, with the exception of wrestling.